Nevada is one of the most unique states in the country. Home to most of the Great Basin Desert, its dry and arid landscapes are well known throughout the world. But what's perhaps less well known is that about 86% of the entire state is not owned by Nevada itself, but rather the United States federal government. Here's why the federal government owns so much of Nevada. Hello and welcome to Geography by Geoff. Nevada is a fascinating state. It's home to incredible conspiracy theories, a world-renowned festival, and of course, Sin City. But in the midst of all this American culture is the underlying fact that the federal government owns the vast majority of Nevada and not the state itself. And as usual, there's a geographic reason for this. But before we get to why the federal government owns so much of Nevada, as usual, if you like my geography, head on over to my Substack. Free subscribers get access to even more geography every week, and paid subscribers get access to all of these amazing perks. So sign up today, and I'll see you there. Long before European and American settlers arrived in the area today known as Nevada, various Native American tribes called this region home. The earliest tribes, such as the ancestral Puebloans and the Fremont culture, date back as far as 12,000 years ago, with their legacy marked by petroglyphs and artifacts that are still around today. These ancient tribes would give way to the indigenous cultures that would first come in contact with the Spanish in the 1500s. This would include the Northern Paiute, Washoe, and Shoshone tribes. These tribes led predominantly nomadic lifestyles, hunting and gathering throughout the Great Basin, and developing societies deeply connected to the rugged landscapes of the region. But the first Europeans to set foot in Nevada would be the Spanish, who arrived in the region in the 1500s. However, it wasn't until the 1700s that the Spanish truly started exploring the general region we're talking about today, which was part of the much larger territory called Nueva España, or New Spain. The exploration of Nevada by non-indigenous peoples is often attributed to Francisco Garces, a Spanish Franciscan friar who traversed the region in 1776. However, Spanish control was largely nominal, and the area remained mostly unsettled and untouched by Europeans throughout this period. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, signed in 1848 at the end of the Mexican-American War, led to the United States acquiring vast territories in the southwest part of the country, including what would become the Nevada Territory, though it began its life as part of the Utah and New Mexico territories respectively. During the California Gold Rush, thousands of prospectors would pass through the Nevada region on their way to California's gold fields, and this would lead to Nevada having its own resource-based rush. In 1859, the discovery of the Comstock Lode, one of the richest silver strikes in history, led to a population surge in western Nevada. Virginia City, the center of the Comstock District, became a bustling metropolis almost overnight. The influx of settlers and the economic boom caused by mining prompted the initial push for Nevada's statehood. And seeing this push, President Abraham Lincoln saw an opportunity to ensure his re-election in 1864 by adding a politically friendly state. But Nevada did not have the 60,000 constitutionally required number of residents to become a state. Instead, it only had about 10,000. Despite this, however, Nevada would be admitted to the Union during the Civil War on October 31st, 1864, becoming the 36th state just 1 week before the presidential election. During its early days, after the initial silver rush, the state's economy was primarily based on mining and cattle ranching, which brought both prosperity and hardships. Unlike many other states, agriculture was never going to become a large part of Nevada's historic economy. As such, in the 1930s, Nevada reinvented itself with the legalization of gambling and the completion of the Hoover Dam in 1936. This period of time would eventually shape Nevada's modern identity. Nevada is perhaps one of the most unique states in the country. It has an incredibly dry natural environment and an economy that is mostly centered around gambling and entertainment within a couple large population centers. As such, the vast majority of the state is basically empty, and this has led to the federal government owning most of the land. But before we get to why the federal government owns most of the land in Nevada, if you're enjoying this video, hit that subscribe button. More fun geography videos are just a single click away. In researching for this Nevada episode, I delved deep into the Department of Defense's land usage within the state, uncovering intriguing articles about Area 51 and UFOs. Today, news websites often carry political bias. As someone seeking facts, not bias, Ground News has helped me cut through the noise. Ground News is a website and app where you can see exactly who has been reporting on an event and how the left, center, and right frame the story, revealing biases. Reading the news has never been easier now that I don't need to jump from site to site. What's most important for me is that it highlights sources with high factual content, like this one with 69% factuality. And of course, as a geography enthusiast, I love maps. Ground News offers an immersive feature comparing news outlets' regional reporting and perspectives, shedding light on differences. It's a great way to get instant access to news everywhere with international perspectives that are hard to find. Today's episode is sponsored by Ground News, but I use this service every day regardless. And for reliable, unbiased information in one place, visit ground.news/geo by Geoff for 30% off unlimited access. Spanning over 110,000 square miles, Nevada is a huge state. All told, it's the 7th largest state in the US, and, despite it being dominated by an arid environment, offers a much more diverse range of landscapes than it is perhaps best known for. From rugged mountains and expansive valleys, to surprising bodies of water, and of course, vast deserts. Like many western states, the most dominant feature in Nevada's geography is its mountain ranges. The state is a key part of the Great Basin, a region characterized by a series of parallel mountain ranges interspersed with dry stretches of land. Along Nevada's western border with California stands the Sierra Nevada mountain range, housing Boundary Peak, the state's highest point at 13,147 feet. To the east, the Ruby Mountains often draw comparisons to the Swiss Alps because of their remarkable beauty and rich biodiversity. To put it plainly, these are not dry, barren mountains. But the spaces in between these mountain ranges are filled with vast basins and valleys, leading to Nevada's characterization as the basin and range state. These basins are largely arid, dominated by sagebrush and sparse vegetation that can withstand the harsh, dry conditions. The most expansive of these is the Great Basin Desert, covering most of the state's northern half. One particular valley of note is the Las Vegas Valley, an area of the Mojave Desert that has seen significant urban development to house the state's most populous city, Las Vegas. Despite being the driest state in the US, Nevada is not completely devoid of water bodies. The Colorado River forms a portion of its southeastern boundary, providing a valuable water resource, while the Truckee River threads its way from Lake Tahoe through Reno to Pyramid Lake. Speaking of lakes, Lake Tahoe, shared with California, is celebrated for its crystal clear waters and stunning mountain backdrop. On the other hand, Lake Mead, a man-made reservoir created by the Hoover Dam on the Colorado River, plays a significant role in the region's water supply. Finally, two major deserts define much of Nevada's terrain, the Great Basin Desert and the Mojave Desert. The Great Basin Desert, the largest desert in the US, stretches across much of northern and central Nevada and is largely categorized as a cold desert with hot summers and snowy winters. By contrast, the Mojave Desert, located in the state's southern tip, experiences a warmer climate and hosts unique plant species such as the Joshua tree. And while these deserts are rich in animal and plant life, there's not much there to attract human habitation. And it's for this reason that much of this land has remained with the federal government rather than the state. Nevada, being a geographically sparse state, is notable for the significant portion of land owned by the federal government of the US. As of 2023, the federal government owns nearly 86% of all land in Nevada, far more than any other state in the contiguous United States. This large percentage is largely due to historic factors and has led to a unique interplay between state and federal authorities. The reasons behind this extensive federal ownership date back to the mid-1800s, when Nevada gained statehood in 1864. Amidst the Civil War, it was quickly admitted to the Union with relatively small settlements and a scattered population. As a result, large parts of its territory remained as federally owned public lands, a pattern seen in several western states, albeit to a lesser extent. Historically, much of Nevada's terrain was considered arid and unsuitable for farming or large-scale habitation, and unlike the fertile lands east of the Mississippi, these lands were less desirable for privatization or homesteading, contributing to their continued federal ownership. Today, the federal government manages these lands through various agencies for multiple uses. The largest landholder is the Bureau of Land Management, which oversees land for recreational use, grazing, mining, and energy development. The U.S. Forest Service manages the forested areas of the state, primarily in the mountainous regions. Their role is to ensure sustainable forestry practices and provide recreational opportunities to the public. The National Park Service manages areas of particular national interest, including the Great Basin National Park and portions of Death Valley National Park. All three of these departments are managed under the Department of the Interior. Additionally, a significant portion of land is managed by the Department of Defense, including the Nevada test site north of Las Vegas, where nuclear testing was conducted in the mid-1900s. This location is now used for various forms of research and development, much of it unknown to the general public. This gives way, of course, to some of the most unique uses and theories behind what the federal government does with all of its Nevada land. While the federal government owns the vast majority of land in Nevada, it's given way to two of the most culturally prominent pieces of Americana: the conspiracy surrounding Area 51 and the annual Burning Man Festival. Two pieces of American culture that likely would not exist in the same capacity were it not for the federal government's unique ownership over much of the state. Area 51, a secretive United States Air Force facility, is situated within the Nevada Test and Training Range. The existence of this base was not publicly acknowledged by the United States until 2013, and it has long been associated with UFO conspiracy theories due to the high level of secrecy surrounding its operations. This remote detachment of the Edwards Air Force Base reportedly supports the development and testing of experimental aircraft and weapons systems. The intense secrecy around Area 51 underscores one aspect of federal land use in Nevada: facilitating secure military and intelligence activities away from populated areas. On a different note, the federal government's extensive land holdings also contribute to the cultural prominence of Nevada, best exemplified by the Burning Man Festival. This event is an annual gathering that takes place in the Black Rock Desert on land managed by the Bureau of Land Management. The week-long event draws tens of thousands of people who come together to create Black Rock City, a temporary metropolis dedicated to community, art, self-expression, and self-reliance. However, the usage of this land is not without controversy. There are ongoing discussions between festival organizers and the Bureau of Land Management regarding environmental impact, land use policies, and the growing scale of the event. But Burning Man showcases a huge aspect of federal land use: the ability to host large-scale public events in vast open spaces that most states probably wouldn't allow, at least not nearly to the same degree. In many ways, Area 51 and Burning Man, despite being on the opposite ends of the federal spectrum, showcase what's possible on land owned by the federal government rather than the states. And both of these, among other things, have cemented Nevada's place in American culture. Nevada is an incredible state. While many think of it as nothing but a huge desert, it is actually quite varied in its landscapes and geographies. And while much of its land is actually owned by the federal government, this exact ownership model has lent itself to some pretty amazing parts of the American story. I hope you enjoyed learning more about Nevada and why so much of it is owned by the federal government. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. And if you want to watch more of my videos, you can do so here. Thanks for watching. See you next time.